El Salvador, a country known for its vibrant culture, stunning landscapes and warm-hearted people. But beneath the surface, a darker story unfolds, a small nation scarred by violence. For years, the streets have been plagued by crime and fear, leaving communities in despair. For decades, gangs ruled the streets. Their presence was felt in every corner, every neighborhood and every home. MS-13, Barrio 18, names that whispered fear. They controlled everything, from the local businesses to the very lives of the people. Extortion, drugs, murder. These were the tools of their trade, and they wielded them with ruthless efficiency. The people lived in terror. The government seemed powerless. Families mourned their lost ones, and hope was a distant memory. Then came a new president, Nayib Bukele, young, brash and determined. He promised change. He vowed to bring an end to the reign of terror. He vowed to crush the gangs. His approach was aggressive, his resolve unshakable. He declared war on the criminal underworld. In 2022, he made his move, a state of emergency. Thousands arrested, the streets were swept clean of gang members. And at the heart of his plan, a facility designed to hold the most dangerous criminals. A prison unlike any other. A fortress of confinement, built to house those who had terrorized the nation. The largest in the world. This was CCOT, the Terrorism Confinement Center. A place where the law would prevail. CCOT was more than just a prison. It was a statement, a declaration that the days of lawlessness were over. A symbol of Bukele's iron fist, his commitment to restoring order and safety to El Salvador. Built in a remote area surrounded by barren land, it sent a clear message. There would be no escape, no return to the old ways. This is what happens to criminals. This is where justice is served and where the cycle of violence is broken. This is where the gangs end. A new chapter for El Salvador written in the walls of CCOT. Imagine a concrete fortress rising from the dust, towering walls topped with razor wire, guard towers manned by armed soldiers. This is CCOT, a place designed to hold 40,000 inmates. But today it holds even more. Getting in is nearly impossible. High-tech scanners, body searches, every prisoner meticulously processed. Inside the prison is a maze of cells and corridors. Surveillance is constant. Cameras watch every move. Signal jammers block communication. No contact with the outside world, not even family. Life in CCOT is harsh, brutal. The environment is unforgiving, and the daily grind is relentless. Every day is the same, a rigid routine, wake-up call before dawn. The first light of day barely touches the horizon when the inmates are roused from their sleep. A quick wash in a communal sink, the water is cold and the facilities are basic. Then, the morning count, guards barking orders, ensuring everyone is accounted for. Inmates lined up in formation, silence. The air is thick with tension as the guards scrutinize every movement. Breakfast is a meager affair, a watery gruel. The portions are small, barely enough to sustain them through the morning, maybe a piece of bread. Then work assignments, menial labor, breaking rocks, sewing uniforms. The tasks are monotonous, designed to break their spirits, anything to keep them occupied. The work is grueling and the hours are long. There is no respite. Lunch is another sparse meal. Beans and rice, the staple diet of confinement. The food is bland and unappetizing, but it is all they have. Afternoons are for rehabilitation, religious services, educational programs. These activities are meant to reform, but many inmates see them as mere propaganda. Way to control their minds. The skepticism is palpable and participation is often half-hearted, a way to control their minds. The guards watch over them, ever vigilant, ensuring compliance. As the sun sets, the prison locks down. The day ends as it began, with the inmates being herded back to their cells. Back to the cramped cells. The walk back is slow, the weight of the day heavy on their shoulders. 2 men to a space barely big enough for one. The cells are small, offering little comfort or privacy. A thin mat on the floor. The mats are worn and provide little cushioning against the hard ground. A bucket for a toilet. This is their life, day after day, year after year. The routine is unchanging, a relentless cycle of monotony and hardship. Food in CCOT is not about nourishment. It's about control, a tool to enforce compliance. Breakfast is often a thin porridge, flavorless and watery. It does little to satisfy the gnawing hunger. Lunch is the main meal, but even that is basic. A scoop of rice, a ladle of beans, maybe a small piece of chicken on a good day. The food is bland, repetitive. It wears down the body and the spirit. Some inmates say they are constantly hungry. They dream of fresh fruit, of meat, of anything that reminds them of life outside. Section 5. Echoes of ink and violence, the shadow of gangs. The walls of Secot may confine them, but they cannot erase the past. Many inmates bear the marks of their former lives, tattoos, intricate designs that tell a story of gangs, of violence, of belonging. MS-13, Barrio 18. Their symbols are etched onto skin, a constant reminder of the rivalries that rage even within prison walls. The guards work tirelessly to maintain order, to prevent outbreaks of violence, but the tension is always there, simmering beneath the surface. Section 6. Psycho's Tale, a glimpse behind the bars, Marvin Ernesto Matano Vasquez. Known to many as Psycho, a name that echoes through the corridors of his past, a chilling reminder of a life steeped in crime and violence. His story is one of transformation, regret, and a deep understanding of the streets that shaped him. Psycho, the nickname, is a chilling reminder of his past, a life of crime, of violence. The streets were his playground and the gang was his family. He was drawn into a world where survival meant toughness, and toughness often meant brutality. He joined a gang at 11, just a child, yet already exposed to the harsh realities of life in a rough neighborhood. The gang offered him a sense of belonging, a place where he felt powerful and respected. By 15, he was a hardened criminal. His actions were driven by a need to prove himself, to show that he was not to be messed with. The streets had taught him that mercy was a weakness, and he embraced his role with a fierce determination. Now, at 41, he's spent more than half his life behind bars. Prison became his new reality, a place where he had ample time to reflect on his choices and the path that led him here. The walls of his cell were a constant reminder of the life he once led. "I was young," he says, his voice raspy. "I made mistakes." He regrets his past, the pain he caused, the lives he disrupted. Each day in prison is a reminder of the consequences of his actions, and the weight of his regrets grows heavier with time, but he also knows the streets. He understands the allure they hold for young men with no hope, no opportunities. The gang life promises a sense of identity, a way to escape the harshness of their reality, even if it means walking a dangerous path. The allure of gangs for young men with no hope. It's a cycle that repeats itself generation after generation. He sees himself in these young men, and he wishes he could reach out to them, to show them that there is another way. He believes Secot is harsh, but necessary. The strict measures are a way to break the cycle of violence, to offer a chance for redemption. He knows that without such interventions, many more lives would be lost to the streets. It's the only way to stop the violence, he says. His voice carries the weight of experience, the knowledge that change is possible, but it requires tough decisions and unwavering resolve. Psycho's Tale is a testament to the power of transformation and the hope for a better future. Section 7. A nation transformed. Crime's descent in El Salvador. Before Secot, El Salvador was drowning in blood, one of the highest murder rates in the world. But since Bukele's crackdown, something has changed. The numbers are down, dramatically. Homicides have plummeted. Streets once ruled by fear are now patrolled by soldiers. Some say it's a miracle, others a temporary lull. But there's no denying the impact. El Salvador feels safer. Tourists are returning. Businesses are reopening, but is it sustainable? At what cost? Section 8. The price of peace. Voices of dissent and concern. Not everyone is celebrating El Salvador's success. Human rights groups are worried. They point to mass arrests, lack of due process, overcrowding in prisons. They say innocent people are being swept up in the dragnet. Lawyers are overwhelmed with cases. Families torn apart. There are allegations of abuse, of torture. The government denies these claims, but the doubts linger. Is this justice, or is it vengeance? Section 9. The unwritten future of Secot, hope and uncertainty. Secot is a powerful symbol of El Salvador's fight against gangs, but it's also a question mark. Can such a harsh system last? Will it truly rehabilitate criminals? Or will it create a new generation of hardened criminals? The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: El Salvador has changed. The gangs are weakened, but the fight is far from over. The cycle of violence is deeply rooted. It will take more than a prison to break it. It will take education, opportunity, and a belief that a different future is possible.